Hey guys and girls, Nathan here. Just waiting for all channels to be up and running before we get into this evening's Facebook Live. No corona here, guys. No corona here. Thanks for checking in tonight, guys. Hop straight into it. Got a lot of news articles that I want to read through this week. Obviously, as always, post your questions. For those of you that aren't watching on the B.Invested Facebook page, there's multiple pages that are watching this at the moment. I'm recording this directly from the binvested.com.au Facebook page. So pop over if you want to ask questions. Thanks, ladies, for tuning in and saying hi. Hi, everyone. Thanks for checking on this evening. So, yeah, a lot of things happening out there in the market. Got a lot of happy birthday messages. Thanks for everyone that shot me a message, reached out yesterday, and wished me a very happy birthday. So I had lots of messages. I couldn't get back to everyone, but thanks everyone for the kind words. Cool. So seeing that there's a lot of people here online. Hey guys, Virtue Tuesday. Good evening. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the kind words. Get straight into it. So, what's happening out there in the marketplace? That's what I want to look at today. Obviously, as always, post your questions if you have a question. You know where the message box is. But I want to pop straight into it. So, there was a news.com article the other day, which I read. It's called JobKeeper Unemployment Rates Rise, What the True Figures Mean for the Future. So we'll get straight into that. Australia has received the heartbreaking news that almost 600,000 workers had lost their jobs in 1 month yesterday. So this was on the 17th of May, so on Sunday. It's been 1 month since 600,000 workers had lost their jobs. But at the same time, the unemployment rate has only risen by 104,000. So what's going on there? Taking the national unemployment rates up to 6.2% compared to the previous months at 5.2%. So here we are in the middle of a depression, recession, whatever anyone wants to call it. And we've only got 100,000 people unemployed. It seems like not such a bad sort of crash. It says here, goes on to say, on the surface, that's a mere 1% difference. Doesn't seem too disastrous, but the reality of our current jobs market is far more complicated and far more worrying. So interesting out there. Some people, are doing it tough. Everyone's sort of affected in some way, shape, or form. At B.Invested, we just employed over a dozen new staff over the course of the last month. So finding it's a great opportunity to obtain new talent. In the group of companies, we employ lots and lots of people, and being able to add on an extra sort of dozen staff couldn't have come at any sort of better time. Could have come on a bit better if everyone started before JobKeeper, but yeah, it's interesting times out there. So looking at the data, which it says here, according to the ABS statistics, seasonally adjusted, employment fell by 594,000 people between March and April. This equates to about 19,810 jobs lost each day during that period. The unemployment increased by 104,000 people to 823,000. The unemployment rate increased by 1 percentage point from 5.2% to 6.2%. And the total hours worked fell by around 9.2% between March and April. So these job stats are very fake, if you ask me, very manipulated as well. If we go and look at the real data, and how do we look at the real data? Go and look at what's being put out there via JobKeeper, what's being done via JobSeeker, what's going on via unemployment. So basically, oh wow, look at this. So we've got Fon, I think's back, and it's got a picture of me, and just deleted that one. It's going to come back any second. I've got to block the guy or the girl, whoever it is that's stalking me. So we've got more people currently unemployed than the Great Depression if we overlay the stats. Cool. Where are we? How do we block? Block. No, we don't want to go there. Sorry guys, we've got our weekly troll back. Everyone's commenting and sorry guys. Normally Fon's pretty fun, but Fon's been a complete dick here, so always comes back. Everyone's commenting. And there he goes for 5 minutes. Looking at what was I up to at the time that Fon decided to come online? More unemployment than the Great Depression. Where does it go to from here? So what I want to look at specifically, he is, it's interesting. So with it, looking at some of the other news articles that are coming out at the moment, which people have been asking me about. We saw Harry Dent. Those of you that don't know Harry Dent is a doomsayer. Harry Dent is out there predicting that we're going to see a 50% crash in property prices, and keep the questions coming, guys. With it, there's a lot of doomsayers coming out now, and the question I ask for these doomsayers that are out there, we've seen the likes of Harry Dent, Stephen Keen. There's a few new ones out there which I won't mention the names to give them any sort of traction or that. However, there's a lot of these so-called experts that are talking about this massive crash, and fundamentally some of them may be correct, that we should be due to a crash, but what other fundamentals are they missing and they're not talking about and putting on the table? So already seeing here, Harry Dent's an idiot. We won't get into any name calling because it's not going to do us any good. However, Harry Dent could be the virus. They just keep coming out over 20 years or 30 years, proclaiming that there's going to be a big crash in prices and it's good sensationalism. And I want to pull apart some of these articles at the moment. There's a lot of people asking me, and one of the questions that wanted to be asked on our post earlier was, should you buy gold and silver at this point in time, and will it be a good thing to park your money in? It just depends on what your goals are and your overall strategy. Obviously, in any of these videos, I don't give financial advice, but I do talk about a lot of financial sort of instruments. And for me, buying gold and silver is a good thing. I think if people are going to take a position of physical gold and silver, it is a good store of some wealth and something there just to have. People rarely go bankrupt on gold and silver. They don't go bankrupt on Bitcoin, but they do with all other sort of financial assets. So as a part of one's portfolio, it's not bad to have that sort of stuff. However, there's so many doomsayers out there that have a tinfoil hat, and the market is so heavily manipulated, just like the jobs market is out there, that the question that I have to ask is, what is the net worth of all these doomsayers out there? What are they doing themselves? If we look at a lot of the ones that are proclaiming to buy gold and buy silver and bunker down and all that, I want to know who, and do a bit of research in this, who is the richest person out there with gold and silver, physical gold and silver? Who has made their millions out of gold and silver? Who is the ones that are profiting from it? Because if you do physical calculations of it, Silver is trading at about 15 bucks, 17 bucks, whatever it trades to on a day-to-day basis. Since it was at $1, that means it could have gone up 17 times. Who got in at $1? Who put all their money in there at that point? I see Tommy wrote there that silver coins are $35 per ounce today. Correct. That's in Aussie dollars. But who's actually physically making money out there in those markets, right? And there's a few extra elements to the market which a lot of these doomsayers don't actually forecast. JobKeeper, stimulus packages, universal basic income. If we have a look at the interest rates being at 25 basis points at the RBA, and a very strong chance, my predictions of where we are heading to is somewhere around September, is where we're going to be heading into 0 to -% interest rate. So that's just personal thought. No financial advice. Don't go short the market and set it for that date. But I do believe that somewhere before September, which will be right in time for the stock market collapse that I'm predicting myself, that we will see those rates go into the negative. So we're still on track for that for those of you that are asking the questions. So yeah, just think about it. Like, I was watching some YouTube videos, and obviously I post a lot of stuff on Birchfeed on a daily basis. I vet and watch all of the videos that are put out. There's a lot of videos that I don't put out that I watch. Some of them are interesting, some of them are, half good and half crap. And I was thinking about the other day, I was like, these guys sound very intelligent that you're listening to on, social media and on YouTube and whatnot. But when you listen to some of their videos and they talk about their exact positions or their age or whatever the case may be, you go on to realize that some of these people are 22 years old and have 15 ounces of silver. 22 years old, they got 150 ounces of silver. For those of you that aren't exposed to what silver prices are at 35 bucks or 40 bucks Aussie per ounce, 10 ounces would be worth $400, 100 ounces would be worth $4,000. If you had 200 ounces, it could be worth $8,000. So these guys' positions, these are people that are capitalizing on the markets and being able to make boss moves. Or these guys that are just trying to get ahead. A lot of them actually talk about one day I'm going to sell off my silver and I'm going to hopefully buy a house and all these sorts of things as well. So just be mindful of where you're getting that information from on that front. But I do like cryptocurrencies, precious metals in this sort of market as well. Looking at some more articles, there's another one here on news.com. Finance experts predicts massive bankruptcies in a 2-year meltdown. We're just months away from a Great Depression style disaster with massive bankruptcies, soaring unemployment, and crashing house price set to hit Aussies hard. So this is an article that's from news.com yesterday, actually. That's the article there. So looking at it, it goes on to read, that's the view of the US demographer and financial commentator Harry Dent, who believes the coronavirus crisis is simply the perfect trigger that will set off an already sick economy. I believe that this is correct, could possibly be that. However, the part that's missing is the fact that we've now got, you can't go bankrupt because you've got, I did a video on this recently, they've changed bankruptcy laws from $5,000 to $20,000. Normally it takes 21 days to bankrupt someone. The process is now dragged out to 6 months, so you can't bankrupt anyone for 6 months. So people will not be going bankrupt, or the ability to bankrupt people is very difficult. The legal process behind collecting money and funds that are owed out is more difficult than beforehand. So to just picture the whole world collapsing is interesting. You could say that. However, all these factors need to be put in on the chessboard and on the wall when coming to such a conclusion. So pulling it apart, everyone's getting JobKeeper, job seeker, stimulus packages. People are bored, they're spending more money. People are getting access to more liquidity out there. And some of the things that I've been looking at recently in quite a lot of different markets, things are going up. I had two catalogs. I had a Woolworths catalog and a Coles catalog, and just looking at some of these things, right? Like if we go to the front cover, this is like, if you were a Coles or Woolworths, you'd put your best offers on the front, which you can quite clearly see. This yogurt Chobani is 90 cents. That sounds pretty cheap. Half price Dove, a pile of grapes, $3. But the ones that I really like to look at is, if we look at Coca-Cola here, 1945, half price, save 1945, and it comes down the bottom there, it says 65 cents per can, right? Going back 20 years ago, you could go to a machine and pick up one singular can of Coke for 60 cents or 80 cents. Now this is half price, warm, unrefrigerated from the grocery store, right? That makes it $1.30 per can, buying it in bulk and wholesale. And we have a look at some of the other things that are here. Specifically, if we go to the meat section, look at this, $4 a kilo for apples. Right? I don't go to the shops. Right? I don't go to the shops. I don't look at food prices. But $4 a kilo, those things are full of chemicals, guys. Look at GMOs. Look at Monsanto, what they do for you. Let's look at lamb chops. Lamb chops, $35 a kilo. What's this one here? Steak, I fillet, $40. When you go to Woolworths or you go to an organic produce store, you'll feel the difference and taste the difference in the food that you're eating as well. So looking at this food that you're getting from these shops that's heavily discounted at such high prices, one has to question how much the food really is. Like, oh look here, this chicken, like, it looks disgusting. Look at it, $3.90 per kilo. You've got to question yourself, how much does it cost to raise a chicken? All the grain, all the food, all the types of food that you have. Is it, I see Steph here just hopped online. Hey Steph, is it organic? Is it, what's this chicken full of, right? Food I eat tastes a lot different than the food that you get in here. So costs of things, I'm not even getting inspired by this crap. But if you have a look at what else is out there and rising in value at the moment. So we've got Doomsdays out there, Mr. Harry Dent, Mr. Stephen Keen, and I'll get on to Steve Keen in a moment. But some of the things recently, for my birthday, I went and bought myself a new car. It's been a while. I had the front end of my old one that it had seen different days, on that. And it had some dents and scratches and all that sort of stuff. It had a big dent on the back. And looking at that, I went out and bought a new car. What I've been told is that because of the dollar, the car prices are more expensive to buy. I was trying to buy a car like 2 months ago. I put a deposit on one, just got too busy, didn't end up going through with it. It was just a new Ford Ranger, it's a new ute, and now they're 10 grand, 12 grand more expensive after this crisis, and there's a lack of stock out there. The cost of goods is going up. People are putting their prices up. It made me, I was cleaning out my shed on the weekend, and I realised the cost of some items, right? One of my brothers was there, and he goes, why don't you get rid of some of these old cars of yours, right? I can't fit in my shed. I've got a shed like the size of a Bunnings. And looking at what people are buying out there, like old cars, right? I've got an MR2, right? Who would have thought a 1988 or 1987 MR2 selling for 15, 20 grand for a fucking Toyota from the 80s that's 30 years old, 35 years old? I went and purchased some PCIe 6-point power cables on eBay. I was picking these things up with 2 prongs on it, so there's 2 lots of 6. I cut them off. I use them for a project that I have for a mining operation, a tech, IT geek sort of thing that I play with. These things are now $2.20 each, and I could only get my hands onto sort of 80 of them or 100 of them, and I need like thousands of them. So I had to take them at $2.20. I tried to negotiate with them and got them for about $2.05. Try to save every cent that I can, no matter what. MIG welders. Need to buy a new MIG welder on the weekend. Surprise, surprise, these things are going up. Pillows, steel, cost of goods going up. Are we going to see everything go up and hyperinflate today? No, we're not. But your purchasing power is depleting. Your purchasing power is being stolen at the moment, and the same thing will flow on into other markets. It is flowing into the property market. I do know, without me calling out which markets are going up, right? That's my IP. That's what I help my inner circle investors with when I'm purchasing properties in buying specific areas, but there are some areas which are going up at the moment. Not all areas. Some areas are still volatile. Some people are scared and not taking action. But are we going to see this biblical sort of scale Armageddon on the streets? The next article I've got here is from The Guardian. It's an article that's titled "Why Universal Basic Income Could Help Us Fight the Next Wave of Economic Shocks." Who knew what universal basic income was 12 months ago? Put your hand up, hit that like button. Who knew what universal basic income was 6 months ago? It's a new word to a lot of people. The corona scam crisis has put insecurity at the heart of tens of millions of lives. Until 6 weeks ago, many hung on to the vague idea that people's relationship with work divided them along binary lines into winners and precarious losers, aspirational types, and those who were dependent on the state, and those who had either just adjusted to globalization or were the casualties of it. But if any of this was ever true, the corona scam crisis was surely consigned, most of it, to history. Insecurity is now at the heart of tens of millions of lives. Put another way, the precariat has suddenly expanded to denote a potential universal condition. Last week I chatted with people in Plymouth. Most people spoke via webcam at the homes, blah, blah, blah. Who's on a read? I like using some big words in this article. Where are we going with it? So a familiar idea has once again returned, that of a universal basic income, or a UBI. It's not a sexually transmitted disease. A lot of people will get fucked by it, but universal basic income is something that everyone's got to know about. When they talk about removing JobKeeper, it's not, right? This is the start of it. This is something that, just having a look here, people commenting here. Anyway, universal basic income is coming in, and we have got stimulus coming into the marketplace at a rapid rate that a lot of people aren't even factoring in. Is what's happening with where's this money going to go? It's great. So just having a look here through some messages. Cool, keep them coming through. Looking at the next article, this one is my funnest article that I've seen for a while through this. This is introducing our friend Stephen Keen. Article is from Daily Mail. They put out a lot of shit. They've put out, all different crap. Every Australian should now be handed $100,000 now. Love the capitals, to stop a full-blown financial disaster triggered by coronavirus, an economist says. Who's this economist? No other than Stephen Keen. It says here, Professor Stephen Keen of the University College of London said a large chunk of individual debt needs to be written off in a debt jubilee to reset the economy and avoid a full-blown financial crisis triggered by the scamdemic. Let's just look a little bit about Steve Keen. Steve Keen sold his house. I think it was in the inner west or the upper North Shore or lower North Shore. Luke knows exactly what I'm referring to here. The Stephen Keen said in the GFC, pre-GFC, or during the GFC, sorry, at the early stage of it, I think it's about 2008, 2009, when they started putting stimulus packages out there, that if house prices didn't drop by 40%, he would walk from Sydney to Canberra. This guy walked from fucking Sydney to Canberra, right? Wherever it was that he walked to. He walked fucking across, he crossed borders in a state in shame, right? The most shameful part is this guy sold off his house, right? These so-called economists, right? And just think about it, right? If we're seeing an economist that gets put on, on a chair and royalty and whatnot about what's going to happen with the economy, and these fuckers are always wrong, what about all the other shit we read about? What about the military that we don't understand? What about health that we don't understand? What about the fucking food that you don't understand? What about the medicine that you're told to inject your kid with that, you don't understand, right? People go, oh yeah, how many calories has this, Chobani got in it, right? But I won't sit there and go, oh fuck, I wonder what chemicals I'm injecting my kid with, right? There's a whole other story, right? So not trying to create a story there, right? But it's just a question everything, right? Am I saying anybody's wrong out there? No, right? This guy that's now being promoted as being big time doomsayer was a doomsayer through the GFC who was completely, utterly fucking wrong, right? And if people took his advice, the guy should end up in jail, right? He's giving unsolicited financial advice to everybody, instilling fear, which is completely wrong, right? It's very interesting what he is stating here today. This just came out this afternoon. Australia's private debt bomb is still 6 times bigger than government debt. Economy can't recover with individuals piled into high debt. The Economist says 200 billion worth of loans have been deferred, but they have to be paid back. Given every Australian has $100,000 to wipe out, massive debt burden, economists, coronavirus spend is a golden. They can't even fucking pronounce sentences, right? I'm not the best fucking storyteller in the world, but it's Michael with his turmeric there. Coronavirus spend is a golden ticket to wipe out Australia's mortgage bubble. Low interest rate, low levels of government debt means Australia can spend. And that is exactly fucking correct, right? That's what I've been talking about. 2 years ago, people were like, oh, this guy's off his fucking head, right? It may have sounded that way, but we're in a place where we can just print our way through this, right? So are we going to what is it? With it, I had lost a train of thought, guys. We're well placed in this cycle, right? How can we get through this? What are the levers to be pulled, right? Biggest thing that I want to highlight to all of us is that in our current monetary system that we're using a currency. People call it money. It's called a dollar. I don't even carry any on me. I don't even have dollars on me, right? It's just worthless trash, right? At least with this magazine, you can put it in the budgie tray. The bird can shit on it. It has a use, right? You can wipe it up. You can't get any toilet paper. And crunch it. And good luck to everybody, right? But with the fiat currency we've got at the moment, you can't do anything with it, right? The thing that we can do is we can print more of it. With a debt-based Ponzi fiat currency that we're using, deflation is not a friend for it. Deflation is something that will totally destroy people throughout the cycle. So the policymakers, the people that are in charge, the ruling class, the Illuminati, the deep state, whatever anyone wants to refer to them as, just people that are the ones making the decisions out there, they have a job to do, right? And that's to keep shit moving along and keep their Ponzi scheme going. However, there's nothing here right now that they can manipulate, right? We're down near zero, right? However, we need to look at what are the opportunities. So one, universal basic income. Two, has anyone realised that like when JobKeeper runs out and their 30-day interbank chart that I've been talking about, why is it all leading around September? That's when all the companies are doing their reporting. We're in a position, if interest rates were negative, it would chew away at itself, right? If cash rates were negative around the world, the debt would chew down on itself and erode its own position. So it would ultimately die via a hyperinflation, as all debt-based fiat Ponzi schemes have. So the only way through this is just printing more money. Here now we've got the biggest doomsayer in the world saying we need to go and print some more money in order to fix up this mess. We are in a mess. Are we seeing things to go down? We're seeing inflation starting to occur, right? Cost of goods hasn't gone down. Tell me what's gone down, apart from chairs, and other commodities that are going down at the moment. What's this? I don't know what's going on there. I'm just seeing some of the comments here. Don't know what's going on there. But anyway, I'm going to keep talking. We're in an interesting time indeed. Lots of opportunities, lots of potential risks, but you need to make educated, calculated decisions. Be careful what you're feeding yourself, not just from the fresh food peoples with lots of chemicals in their food, but feeding yourself from information, from news, from media, from who are these people? What is their right for telling you what they believe or whatever the case may be? So, I did talk about potentials of like needles and children and vaccinations. I don't have children. I don't have that at this point in time in my life to think about, should I vaccinate or not vaccinate, all those sorts of things. It's not my area of expertise, right? But the people that are giving you these advices, you need to question, because I know a hell of the shit that I've read over the years in the media, seen the media, the fraud and manipulation within the media is, very, very questionable sort of stuff. So looking at one last article from our friend Harry Dent, Sydney and Melbourne property prices could fall by 50% as the debt bubble is set to burst. The debt bubble is never going to fucking burst because they're not going to allow it to burst. They're going to keep printing all the way through it. 50%, like these are very outlandish claims, right? And there's so many people that are there, in the marketplace wanting to take advantage of this as well. Right? So only time will tell. Common sense will prevail. People will do well out of this time, and people will not do so well out of this time. So on that note, stop talking about news out there. Come and ask some of your questions. So I'm just going to go through and check some of the messages here. So Mickey, hey mate, sovereign mints versus private mints. I'm assuming for precious metals there, gold and silver. I have all different types of precious metals. I have it in all different formats. I have some precious metals that actually give me cash flow. They're physical and they give me cash flow. I've touched on it beforehand. I have purchased from sovereign mints, purchased from private mints, purchased from dealers, purchased from second hand. I've actually got some distributors that actually go to auctions and pick up stuff, so they're like a buyer's agent for precious metals. And I purchase their excess stock and I buy it by the gram. Sounds really dodgy, go and meet someone in a truck and pick it up by the gram. But yeah, with it, there's all different formats of it. I have it in all different sort of fashions. It's all physical. It's stored in all different formats. Some is of numismatic sort of values, and it's a currency. Some is in bars and bullion. Some is small, some is big. So some is junk, some is not. So yeah, different sort of formats. Sam, why do you think the stock market is going to collapse in September? It's only my thoughts. It's based on factual numbers that I've looked at. The reason why I believe that the stock market will collapse again in and around September is that simple facts is that we've got companies that have been closed for a quarter. It's like 2 months now where companies have been closed, whether you look at event cinemas, whether you look at Hoyts, whether you look at any of the food places in the food court, Donut King, Subways, those sort of foods that are out there, they're not bringing in profits. We're going to see them not paying their rents, their bills are in trouble, all that sort of stuff. When these companies have to go and report at the end of the reporting season, which is July 1, we're going to start seeing, they've got a report by around September as they start putting out the reports and saying, hey, look, we're insolvent, we're completely fucked, people are going to be bailing out. It's going to cause a lot of panic out there. It's going to cause a bit of mark-to-market potential there for mark-to-market scenario, i.e. margin calls, and could be a very big risky time there in the stock market. However, with the rate that central banks are going at the moment, buying up the balance sheet, we're seeing manipulation like never seen beforehand in the market. So yeah, that's my personal view as to why we'll see trouble in the stock markets later this year. Mike, there's nothing to look up, down. Look up Dawn Ultra Washing Liquid Dish Soap, Apple Blossom Scent, 8 ounce on Amazon. They'll compare that to Walmart Dawn Ultra Washing Scent on Amazon, $6.95. Soap, Walmart $4.94. 5 times more from Walmart, $2 less. So Mike, I think that you're from America. For those of you, I've seen a few people commenting on that. We've got an audience all around the world here, guys, which I'm very humbled that we've got people tuning in from all different parts of the world. So yeah, appreciate hearing what you've got there in America. And this cycle, we're currently seeing the US dollar staying pretty strong. What will happen next? There's multiple variants. A lot of people ask me, Nathan, why don't you buy properties that are in America? Why don't you go buy properties that are in a different country? And when I'm buying properties in Australia, I've got Australian tax law, a legal system, and all these things that I'm very familiar with. A banking system, a marketplace, how to go collect rent. If I'm purchasing stuff, for example, in America or in a different country, could be US buying in Australia or wherever the case may be. You've now got to worry about the cost of the dollar, the laws, the accountancy, the regulations, all those sorts of things in play. I use very simple, instruments when I purchase in other currencies, whether it be things like commodities, whether it be things like metals, or whether it be things like cryptocurrencies and whatnot. So thanks for sharing, Mike. Thank you, RBA, for stealing our purchasing power. Don't let the people get ahead. Tommy, good point. That is the importance of being active in market cycles. You want to take that physical cash that we use, and put that in assets. The assets will rise, right? A lot of people say, gold, silver, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies will be a hedge against this. They all have different variables. I believe debt becomes relevant with inflation, and that's been a very cool tool for me to be able to use over the years to be able to build wealth, because the debt becomes irrelevant with inflation. They're just printing more money and you get forgiveness for it. So that's why I get very excited by buying assets. So am I any better than the central banks or the banks out there? No. In essence, I'm not the one making those laws, but the opportunities are there. Why not take advantage of it? Just by sitting there going, oh well, you go take all my stuff, or whatever the case may be, or you can join on the fun as well and understand the parameters of what they're playing with to get ahead. So yeah. Tommy, why pay taxes if there's no consequences to printing money? Normally everyone says taxpayer is going to cover this. This one, it's going to be the saver that's going to be covering this. So it's just an interesting time. Andrew, communism in sheep's clothing is UPI. Andrew, look, it is communism. We're in a communist, totalitarian, fascist state now. A lot of people think, I'm going to go and vote for this leader or vote for this leader. You're just voting for the same, snake with a different head that pops up. People need to take their own personal liberty and freedom in their own hands. Don't rest on the government, you know, being out there to save anybody's ass. So universal basic income is a real thing. We're starting to see it get pushed through out there. I can still see a few people in this live stream, which I did the mentoring program with over the course of 12 months, and it was about 24 months ago now, where we were constantly looking at this. And I was saying, when the GFD becomes real, we're going to start seeing this pop up in the market. We're going to see universal basic income, we're going to see communism come through, we're going to see rates go negative and whatnot. And here we are. It's so exciting to be alive at this point in time, and be able to witness a change. This is a change. This is bigger than a change of lifestyle. People have to wait up in a queue with the cross on the ground and all that sort of stuff. This is a fall of one paradigm and a shift into another. And people can take advantage of this, or people can be left in the dry. People will be scared, and just being able to take advantage and be part of it. It's really cool, and watch it. Tommy said UBI equals JobKeeper. Exactly. Ivana, hi Ivana, hope you're doing well. Mike, amazing. Everything you just said was wrong. I don't know what that is referring to, but I think it was referring to someone's comment in here. So I think Mike was saying, think about it. He's saying here, think about it. No more unemployment checks, no more food stamps, no more social security. Everybody is on Centrelink now. Everyone is on, I don't know what you'd call it, social security. Everyone is, a part of communism. And these businesses, I find it interesting. Small businesses couldn't keep it open, right? Like they're closing down the little takeaway shop, closing down the restaurant, closing down the deli, closing down, the local business, closing down the local hardware. But the big shops are allowed to stay open. The multinationals are allowed to stay open. That's what a totalitarian fascist society really is. It's just big government, big business, and the small guys don't have any say. They just take food stamps. So there's everybody being plugged in the matrix even harder than what they ever have been in the past. Michael, 100 grand, hell yeah. Imagine what you could do with 100 grand a day, right? Take it through the paradigm shift, right? What would 100 grand of asset that you could take in the future look like? Imagine how much turmeric you could buy, mate. Steve Keane, yep, we've seen that. I've lived on way less than 12 grand a year. Good point there, Mike. So Mike appears from America here, from the US. Looking at what people living on the US, look at what people living on here in Australia. I remember I used to try and be the biggest tight ass and try and live for less than 20 grand a year. When I was younger, when I first started my investing, I just grabbed every bit of cash savings that I could get and pump it into assets and be able to build wealth. A lot of people say, well, what's the difference, right? And this could be a really cool bit I'm going to go into right now to talk about how to build a portfolio at this point in time, right? Like if you're on 80 grand a year, 100 grand a year, a lot of people are on 80 grand sort of incomes or family incomes of 100 grand a year. There's 250 grand a year people. If you can live on 20, 30 grand, 40 grand a year, save 50, 60, 70 grand a year, that could mean 2 deposits per year. That could mean 2 new fish hooks in the ocean where you could go fishing and try and have more opportunities to get equity and profits in your investing position. Like taking that cash, when you're exchanging your the reason why it's called currency is it's like energy, right? You need momentum to keep it effective, and we need currency to keep us effective. And when you're saving, you're storing your energy for a future date, and that's why there's a lot more freedom when there was back in the old days, right? And people are just becoming no different than the Matrix when they show you the Duracell battery that we're just a slave. We're a currency slave. We're exchanging our energy in change for some piece of paper with dead criminals printed on it. I think it's important to look at budgeting, and if you can sort of make those few years of sacrifice where you can keep that capital and use that to deploy it into assets that are going to work for you. Like I think about this time, I think about the amount of people that are in trouble at the moment financially. Who are the people that are in trouble the most? The one that just did the right thing, that just went and got a job, went and got good grades, went to school, went to university, got a job, and that's all they have. It's just income from what they trade their time for. Who out of here, keep a message, send us messages, whatever, who here at the moment is getting their assets to keep them afloat? For me personally, my assets were what I was able to retire from the workforce in the middle of the GFC with. They're the things that today keep me going forward and being able to achieve cool things. While everyone's scared, I'm like excited, smiling from ear to ear, right? I'm sure there's years and times where Nathan's been here and I've said I've been like, fuck, like people have been commenting like you don't look so well, you've been stressed or whatever over the years, but at this point in time it was very, very exciting due to the opportunities and the assets that are out there. And I'm seeing so many people that it's very humbling sort of experience to see those that I've worked with over the years, as far as investors that have been able to have the privilege of wanting to use my services and whatnot, and seeing them grow and build the assets. Like they're using those assets now to protect themselves during a time like this, and that's all the property is, that's all shares should be, that's all your cryptocurrency or your precious metals, whatever asset that you're acquiring is purely vehicle to get you from where you are today to where you want to be in the future, and navigating through changes and systems. We go through a year cycle. A year, you go through winter, you wear a jacket, you go through thanks Sabor, just saw your happy birthday message popped up on my screen, and couldn't see myself here, but with it we go through cycles, right? You saw me beforehand, I had my jumper on. It's winter, it's a bit cold, I'll wear a jumper. I'll wear long jeans today. In summer I'll wear a hat and I'll wear a t-shirt or singlet and some thongs, and I wear thongs every day, who am I kidding, and some shorts. And as your assets, you need to look at your assets as we're going through a season here. What vehicle do I need to take through this system, and what vehicle do I need to take out on the other side? So Wesley, I don't think Stephen Keen can predict the weather in the middle of a thunderstorm. Exactly right. It's very hilarious. What I've been saying, I was saying this, like everyone's like, oh, Nathan's so positive, why are you being negative? This was like 2017 entering 2018. I can show proof of the dates of when certain events occurred, whether it be the inverting yield curve, the death cross that I posted about, made some videos about at the time. A lot of people are coming out going, oh wow, things are going to go to hell and back, but they weren't talking about this before, they didn't talk about it. So do your research, ask questions, seek. If it doesn't add up, if the answers don't match right, then keep looking for the answer that you're looking for. So Michael, funny once again. Stephen Keen is funny. He said prices should have be lower, but now says 100 grand to everyone. If you give everyone 100 grand, what would that mean, right? Let's do some numbers. I don't even think my calculator would calculate to that point. Let's have a quick look here. Let's say 25 million people. 25 million. 25 million times it by 100,000. That's how much money you would be printing, right? $2.5 trillion by lots of things, right? What would that do to the economy, right? That would be a very good catalyst for hyperinflation. And that's where we're heading to. We're heading to a position when you print more money, it's going to mean there's more money circulating in the system. People may not spend that money at the moment. How many people are fearful? How many people aren't spending money? What about when they get the confidence, right? I see people I talk to on a daily basis and they're like, I'm scared of the market. And it's like, well, you can only make the decision that you're going to make, right? But I think about it, I'm like, what about all those people when they want to come into the market and there's no assets there to pick up, or it's going to be much more expensive for the assets at that point in time? They start buying those assets and the prices rise, and like, oh, we're going to get into a new frenzy, right? But where would that boom lead to? Where's all that money going to find itself in the future? What measures do they have to stop that from running away? How are they going to stop this? It's exciting, right? That's the opportunity right there. Jacob said Steve missed the property bull run. Yeah, he sold his house at like 800 grand. It's probably worth 2.5 mil, and it's probably going to double again and go to 5 mil. But what are these people doing? Got some. I see some people here attacking Mike. Didn't think he was being too harsh, but I didn't see the previous messages. Don't razz everyone up in here, guys. Let's try and keep it civil. Jacob, I think when interest rates go to negative, the government could use universal basic income to pay back debt. That's just like throwing a petrol tanker. Like imagine you've got a fire, and you see kids on the road that push bikes and they go over a jump and they're like, woo, when they jump like a car or something with some ramps. That's like taking a petrol tanker and jumping over a fire pit, which is a very interesting scenario. So it's exciting because whichever way they go, the ultimate thing is they're going to lose control of the currency. If they don't drop the interest rates, they're going to have to buy up the balance sheets. Right? If they're doing that, they're injecting liquidity in the market. So it's like, and I'll try and not be so crass as I sometimes say to people one-on-one. It's like saying you're going to die no matter what. Do you want to die of a knife or get shot, right? Either way, it's not going to be pretty, right? Do you want to cop a bullet in the shoulder? Do you want to cop a knife in the other shoulder? Whatever the case may be, that's the situation that the currency system's got at the moment. So, next question here is Josh Bircho. The courses that you have on offer on your page, such as the mentoring weekend day one, is that a good place to start as a beginner investor? And will that still be relevant given the evolving scandemic situation? What would be the best program to begin with? I want to learn everything I can get my hands on, keen as fuck. Thanks, mate, and keep in touch with yourself. Appreciate the cool words there, Josh. Humbled. For those of you that are just watching this on this Facebook page or any of these Facebook pages, I've literally got 10 years worth of videos, apart from some videos that someone hacked in. Someone hacked in once and stole some videos, but I wasn't, talking like I talk today. I was, doing renovation videos and stuff on. It was just that I was more youthful on those videos. I have literally thousands of videos on YouTube. I encourage, if you haven't been to the YouTube channel, go youtube.com/Binvested, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, watch out for videos. I was literally looking at some pages here. I've got, you can see the level of pages that I have here in front of me, video topic ideas that people have been requesting through from the community. I'm going to sit down one day and try and hit out 20 videos at a time, and I just keep uploading them on more of a regular basis. So I try and throw out a lot of free content I give to people. However, I do have a part of the business where I need to pay for staff and overheads and stuff like that. So for those of you that don't know, I have got a mentoring program. I can bundle it all together. I think there's an option there where you can pay $3,000. You basically get about 100 hours of me talking about this prior to it happening, during it, and as we're starting to run up to where we are at the moment. It might be about a year behind. The thing with the mentoring program is a part of it is like the news component, but I've also put evergreen content there. So it's meant to be just about how to renovate a property, how to negotiate a property, how to plan for a property, how to set goals for property investing. and have in there, lots of very relevant time, not time sensitive, so you can watch it in 10 years time and the fundamentals will still be the same, because ultimately the fundamentals that I invested into in 2003, 17 years ago, in property investing, I still use today. Um, I learn all the time. I try and adapt and grow and change throughout market cycles. There is some more elements of sophistication over the years as I've had to overjump new levels, but a lot of the information there is very, very relevant and very cost effective. There's that option if you want to get the mentoring program. It used to be $8,000, but it's on sale at $3,000. So go hit up my team, ask them for access to the mentoring program. Very good place, a lot of information. I give a lot of free information, so you could only imagine the level of content in my paid for information that I put out there. If you want me to help you on a personal level, I can do a map session, which is a strategy session where I work through with people to look at their whole overview of their position and work out a plan on how to help you get from where you are today to your end goals, and draw out a bit of a plan of, okay, what steps do we need to do to overtake in order to get there, and build out a plan where I can personally work with you on that, which is $499, $500 to spend 45 minutes or an hour with me to work through your strategy. It's called a map session. That's something I can do to help you out. And I've got all other types of services of what I can help you with. So if you are interested, reach out to my team. Happy to help out where I can. So if you were to buy just a mentoring one day of a weekend, that is just one module of about 8 hours. It'd probably be more cost effective to buy the whole course, because it is on sale at the moment at $3,000. I think it's $3,000 or something. So hit up my team on that. Thanks, Josh. Oliver, Steve Keane went down. He did. He's wonder what his position looks like now. Erkan, in your opinion, in the long run, where are we headed? What is the end game? The powers to be that control this system, they're going to try and keep their power. They're going to try and find a new Ponzi scheme. This has evolved, right? This isn't a game that's happened in 2020. This isn't a game that occurred in the 2000s. This isn't a game that occurred in the 1990s, 1980s, 1970s. If you go throughout history, you will see that this has occurred for thousands of years, right? There's power plays here. There's fall of empires, the Roman Empire. If you think about back to the early 1900s, early 20th century, you would see that England and Great Britain was the leading power of the world. They had the highest employment. They had the currency of the world. They had, they were the controllers, like US is at the moment. You had the fall of the Roman Empire. There's been times that history goes in waves and cycles, and we're at a point at the moment where it's a struggle for power. I believe it's where China, right? But there's underlying forces, there's hands that are being moved for agendas, right? These people, these virus people that go and try and control, they're not just here in Australia or in the US or wherever. And I'm not trying to be sort of racist or anything like that, so no one try and point out and say, it's this class of people. These people are beyond borders, right? These people are, people that are global. They will go from place to place. They have their own islands, they have their own estates, they have intergenerational wealth. For me, my end game on that front is to understand the matrix, right? I want to see the chessboard that I'm on, right? It's not to say that I'm going to be the ruling master. I just realised I'm sweating here. It's warm here. That's why I took off my jacket before. Should have not had the heater on so hot. For me, is to understand how that works and be able to, get the most comfortable part of the chessboard, right? That we're all born into and see here. So, understanding, looking at the game, questioning, taking action, and not accepting what you're being fed from the ruling class, whether it be the food, whether it be the education, whether it be the programming. It's called TV programming for a reason, because they're programming, spelling words, right? They teach you with a spell, right? Just interesting. Michael, drink alkaline water, people. This is alkaline water here. Interesting with the filters. I've got an interesting filtration system. There's this, I don't know what it is. It's like this white thing that's in there. I'm looking at it on the other side of me here, and it's gone in a month. It turns to brown, right? It's like it looks like a tide line in the ocean. And if you think about the metals in your water and the things that make you sick, and they're not telling you the glue that's in your meat. They're not, teaching you this stuff. So, alkaline water is good and healthy. I'm not here to, tell people, but if people, do a bit of research yourself on alkaline water and see the benefits of how it can help your body. On that note, Tommy just wrote here, whoops, something's going on here. How's the veggie farm going? Good. I've been growing food. I might actually take a video of a test site which has got a lot of veggies and different plants and do a walk through that. And maybe tomorrow I'll do that and post it on Birch Feed. So I won't post anywhere else. I'll just put it in Birch Feed. So if you're not in Birch Feed, make sure you get on there. Just email my team, send an email to admin@binvested.com.au, and just send over your mobile phone number. You don't have to pay for anything. There's no asking for credit cards, not invading your privacy, posting information on their daily basis to, in your opinion, are we going back to the gold standard? Good question, Toby. I would never, ever, ever want to see the gold standard. Are we going back to a gold standard? I don't think so. Never. Gone, right? The only way that we'll go through a gold standard is if someone... I don't see how we possibly could. The collapse of a currency, it won't see it. I'll just come out with some new debt-based fiat Ponzi scheme, some format of a cryptocurrency sort of Ripple coin type of Ponzi. Out of water, need some more water. With it, I don't see us going back to gold standard. If we're on a gold standard, I don't think we would see growth in property. The reason why we see so much growth in the markets, whether it be the shares, whether it be in property, whether it be in commodities. The reason why we see commodities down is because of manipulation. It's all manipulated. This whole system's manipulated and rigged. If we were back to a gold standard or silver standard, some sort of currency that's backed by something, it wouldn't be able to be manipulated. We wouldn't see growth, right? It wouldn't be good. I wouldn't be happy with that. You wouldn't be happy with it. You'd be like, why hasn't my house moved in 50 years or 20 years? And that happened when we're on the gold standard. So there's a few more manipulating moves, I feel. Maybe one more cycle through this, another 6, 7, 8, 10 years. But it's going to be rapid with different spikes of inflation. We'll see inflation in different cycles. We'll see things fall off a cliff and then quickly be fixed up, and then go to a new level, and then fall off a cliff. And I think that those cycles will condense down into shorter time frames with a much sharper inflation. If you think about it, there was something I was reading the other day, and it was, don't quote me on this, I think there was $25 billion spent in World War II. Maybe Mike dollars in the US. I think it was $25 billion spent for the whole World War II. Somewhere where I also read it was about $150 billion spent in the World War II. So Google it, how much money was spent in the World War II, and then go look at the repo market and see how much money is being printed on a daily basis. Just in the US alone, there is $120, $150 billion per day being printed in short-term lending. This is money being generated and pumped out there, right? We have lost control of the currency that we have. We only have manipulation and little bubbles and asset bubbles and things that will explode and things that will patch up. That's going to get us through these new parts of the cycle. So we have a collapsing currency. If we look at the level of debt that every president that has entered into office has taken on board, and I saw it on a chart as well the other day. I don't have it with me. If you look at when every president has come on board, the level of debt that they inherited, their level of debt that they had when they left, is now getting to a point where if you have a doubling effect, right? So like double one is 2, double 2 is 4, double 4 is 8. double 8 is 16, double 16 is 32, double 32 64, 128, 256, 512, 1024. Right, these numbers, it will end up to a point where it is just blow off top, right? Where you just can't even, always joke about it, like no second job's going to pay for that point, right? And we're heading to that phase where the currency, like the governments can't even hold on to their currency with the amount of debt that they're taking on board. So just really, really exciting stuff. So I don't see how it would be feasible for us to go back to any format of a gold standard. David, there is one problem with holding precious metals. The banks don't recognise them as an asset when applying for mortgages, yet they will accept a vehicle. Exactly, because getting into that manipulation, guys. And the reason why, like, a vehicle could be the asset in the future, right? When we get to a hyperinflation, your debt will become irrelevant with inflation. So the debt will become the asset, right? And that's not giving financial advice for those that want to try and pull apart my words and mince them. Purely just looking at it, when debt, goes through inflation, that's where things rise. There is no way that a 1985 Toyota should be trading at 30 grand, right? And for there to be a market there, right? You buy new ones for that. But these things happen, right? If you go back, the cars weren't even worth that before, when they were released out there. So it's just taking things through a cycle. People ask me, like, why do I have big locations where I have like dozens of cars that are just stacked, right? And I just call them my little time vaults. It's time capsules. There you go, something random people didn't realise about me today. But yeah, the banks will not look at them as an asset. I actually have seen some institutions which I don't suggest to go to, but I have seen some dealers which give you loans against precious metals, but it's not of anything great or significant. It's too high of an interest, but yeah, interesting point that you make there, David. Another David, what do you think about the Rich Dad Poor Dad's comment on the housing market on Daily Mail? I haven't seen that as yet. Just going to have a look at it now. So Daily Mail, Robert Kiyosaki News. Let's try and pull up that article that you got there, David. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, self-help author urges Australians to stop buying property now as trade war with China could spark a depression, but he reveals the one foolproof investment you should make. Right? I haven't even read the article, right? I bet you he says that go buy silver. Finance expert, best known for Rich Dad Poor Dad. Trade spat with China could spark a depression. We're in a depression. People just don't realise we're in a depression. We've been in a depression since the 11th of October 2018. That's when we entered it. That was actually the first day of Birchfeed, the day that Birchfeed was launched. Hate to say it, but it could be an all recovery, but it could be a drop, straight down collapse. China has confirmed it could be slapping 80% import tariffs on Australian barley in relation to Prime Minister Scott Morrison call an independent inquiry into the cause of corona. What does he say here? This could see Australia go from being a rich country to a poor one like Argentina. And agriculture exported did during the 1930s because of high debt levels. Wrong, right? I don't believe everything that all these people say out, and that's important because it's all an opinion. I'm not saying anyone should listen to me and say this is what you should listen from me is right. I can't see what he's putting here. Yeah, advocates buying gold. Right, so that's what Kiyosaki's saying at the moment. He's been saying it since the last cycle, right? If you had have just went and bought silver in 2011, there were so many people out there saying to go out there and buy silver in 2011. Silver was like $50 US, and it's been trading at about $15 at the moment. So a lot of those people that bought back 8 years ago have missed a full property cycle, missed out on 10 years of cash flow. Let's say if you're trading at a 10% return or even a 7% that's compounded annually, that capital would have doubled in value just with the cash flow, and then you would have missed out on all these wonderful things, and still holding bits of metal that are doing nothing, no cash flow, very, very minimal things. So I actually agree with a lot of stuff that Robert Kiyosaki says. I don't disagree with much. I haven't read this into too deep, but I don't agree with everything that he has to say. Are we in a depression? I believe we're already in the depression. Will it be a China and Australia? No, I don't believe it'll be a China and Australia trade war. This is a global trade war. Countries are going to have to do deals with China in order to save their relationship with them. And I just believe that we're in that negotiation stage at the moment. So why is China being this common denominator? Because they're the ruling class at the moment. I actually remember having a chat with a mate of mine who is in America now. He was actually my first staff member. His name is Enjoy. And I was talking to him about, the ability of, he said, why don't you like the US and the US economy? And I said that the US changed in the 1970s when the currency had changed and they shipped off all their production to China and Japan. I remember as a kid, everyone used to say the Jap crap, buying a Japanese car, buying a Japanese radio, everything was considered as Jap crap. And now people, like Japanese goods because they're actually good stuff now, compared when you compare it to China. But looking at my conversation with them is that US has just been piling up debt. I said that the one that produces, right? So the guys in China have come from, whatever living conditions, working conditions, lifestyle conditions that they were living in the past. Now they're producing, they deserve to be on top, right? And we're at a point now where they've been producing for the rest of the world. Everybody's paying for them. They're becoming more powerful. So this is just a sleight of hand of power. 26th of March 2018 was when the trade war started. It was with Yuan Petro. When China started trading oil in yuan, and I posted a lot about that in Birchfeed. Once again, I'm not going to go into it too deep. I just believe that this article has a bit of legs, but to say that we're going to see housing crisis crash, I do think that Kiyosaki, what's the other guy that I said beforehand? What's his name? The idiot guy that I was talking about. I've got a mind blank. His name. Harry Dent. I believe that Kiyosaki, Harry Dent, and a few others are actually on some sort of tour or something at the moment. So maybe they've got a bit of PR out there and whatnot, and it's being beat up. So that's just my thoughts on that at this point, without going too far deeper into it. Tommy, Governor Lowe dislikes this video. Expose the corruption. Birch, Adam, how you doing? Well, bro. Hope you're doing well. Tommy, on a more serious note, what happens when the day comes where our taxes are irrelevant as a source of revenue, as it doesn't even pay for a quarter of our debt? What then for government? Interesting times. What would Milton Friedman say? It'd be interesting to see. We've never seen this happen. This is a fall of a currency. Very, very exciting times. Taxes, interest rates, they will all rise in the future, but there's a hell of a ride to go before we get to that point, right? We've got to see the total destruction and collapse of our currency. So, Cameron, good question, very good question. Will APRA lift their restrictions like New Zealand? I believe that they will. That's one of the stimulus measures. They're going to make it easier for people to be able to obtain capital. There's a page here in my list of videos that I'm going to be filming, and it is from Queensland. It was a housing finance loan from the government. You can see here, Queensland government housing finance loan, eligible for the loan, and it's basically house commission, but it is here variable fixed interest rates, only 2% deposit required, right? 2% deposit, 2% deposit, right? They're going to have to manipulate the system in order to prop up this market. I'm not disagreeing when people say that there's problems out there, right? The problems are not with any specific market, they're to do with the currency that we're using. And I think the APRA regulations that came in 2015 and 2016 are going to be one of the crucial measures. When they lift them, when they relax them, that's going to be the blow off top stage. I don't think we're there yet. I think we're probably 24, 36 months away, maybe 18 months, 36 months away from them being lifted. And that's why I believe in this point in time in the market, in the current situation, where there's a 2-year sort of window there where people can take advantage of the opportunities that are out there, because once they do lift their restrictions and it becomes easier to obtain finance, then the markets will take off. Michael, save and buy Mount Druitt. People need to save a lot more money nowadays than what we used to have to when buying out of Mount Druitt, because Mount Druitt is even very expensive now to purchase. Danielle, live stream awesomeness. Thanks for that, Danielle. Zeph, I live in my van, haven't paid rent for 2 years. It's great finances. I've freed so much for myself. It's been great for my health. I've spent a lot more time in nature. Great for deconditioning myself and the programs that are put into our subconscious mind, and living with my truth and much more happier. There are lots of people downgrading to van life, buses and tiny homes that absolutely love it. Cool stuff, Steph. Good to see that you are enjoying the van life. I think too much in life, people trying to live up to the expectations of what society puts on them. Hopefully one of the things that does come out of not just this scamdemic that we're seeing at the moment and people being fearful of whatnot, but when there's an economic issues that occur to people change. I've been through adversity in life. Each time it makes you stronger, it makes me more robust and agile to move. Some people get wiped out by it. Some people I need more water. I needed a bigger cup of alkaline water. But yeah, like looking at people that are trying to impress people by having that big house, by having that cool car, by having a loan on a BMW car or a Mercedes or whatever sort of car that they've got, a Porsche, whatever. Being happy is more important, right, than some material possession. A lot of people are owned and trapped by themselves because they don't get that right education to get the foundation set right, so they can truly live life on their terms. And Steph, I remember when so those of you who don't know, Steph used to work for us at B.Invested before she told me where to go and went on her journey. But live life on your terms, and exit the matrix always been a thing that we've that I've banged on about, and I think it's important, especially in this point in time, for people to take and regain their personal liberty and freedom. So I like assets investing. Oh wow, yeah, I saw Mike here reading this. Cool. Dylan, where do you go to buy metals apart from bullion dealers, second-hand, etc.? Good question, Dylan. There's two parts to your question. I also mentioned that I get cash flow off my precious metals. There's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek. I'll explain it to you offline one day how it all works. I might actually take a video soon of that. I took a video the other day, but it wasn't right for me to post that. But I might take a video and post it shortly of how I make cash flow out of precious metals. However, with purchasing bullion, I've purchased from all different places. I've purchased from bullion dealers. I've purchased it from mints, from sovereign mints, from private mints. I've purchased it from some eBay, like little bits and pieces, and I'm very specific with what I buy on eBay because there's a lot of fake stuff out there. The stuff that I have purchased on eBay has been very old, sort of collectible coins that people don't even know about. and have I'm buying a below spot price for the actual metal that's inside them. It's very difficult to do that. I have about 5 coins that I own the whole market on. Basically, I've taken them out of circulation when the prices are right over the years. Just like buying property, I do that as well. But also have some coin dealers. There's some coin outlets which do purchase specific coins in sets, and they can't ship everything away because they take them offshore. And I, purchase from those people directly for the excess stock at price per gram and stuff like that. So different types of bullion and metals that I've collected over the years. But just remember, guys, when I talk about this stuff, I use it as a ballast. I've never seen anyone become wealthy off stacking bits of metal, right? You don't become wealthy off stacking bits of metal. So just remember that. Like to dispose of metal is more difficult than it looks. It's very small and clunky and whatnot. And it's not as easy as pushing sell on Bitcoin or whatnot, but that has volatility. I use all of those other financial instruments as ballast to get me through different cycles and to take me as a bit of a hedge there in my portfolio. So on that front, just be very careful on going out. I'd never bet the house on metal or crypto or whatnot. I've never sold a property in order to do that, and I wouldn't use a deposit or whatever to do that as well. For me, when I purchase various said things, whether it be acquiring cryptocurrencies or acquiring precious metals, it's generally over a stealth period. I still purchase cryptocurrencies very, very rarely at this point because I make them. I make cryptocurrencies just personally. It's one of my little geeky things that I do. But I still acquire on a regular basis, precious metals and save them. So it's not a matter of dropping 50k or 100k into this stuff. It's $500 here, $1,000 there, $200 here, $2,000 there. Over time, not going out and dropping everything into one. So just my 2 thoughts on that, Dylan. But if you want to take it offline, let's have a chat. Tell me what would happen if the 100 grand went straight into paying down debt and destroying credit. Well, someone is going to be taking that debt on, right? So if it was to destroy credit, what would be the need for the government to get into so much debt in order to pay out someone's mortgage, right? That is just a balance sheet transfer, taking it from the person and moving it straight to the government and then having to go get taxed. This is nationalising debt and showing you that you're in a communist system. Like 100 grand off debt. It could take out people's credit cards and stuff like that, could be, but then they're going to have to rise taxes. It's Peter Pan sort of shit, taken from the rich to give to the poor. It wouldn't be, it's some sort of commission. I don't even know whether they'd make an article like that. So fake news, in my opinion, about printing 100 grand. But it's interesting that these are conversations that are being thrown around. When in their history, right, think about it, anyone that's 25, 30 years old, there wouldn't be people that are like 10. There is people that are like 10 years old, right, that don't even know what the GFC was. But now most of you that are coming through from, the 90s that have seen 99, right, or whatever in your life, to think of 100 grand, right? We talk about 100 grand like, oh, we'll just give everyone 100 grand, right? Here's 100 grand, 100 grand for you, 100 grand for you, right? This is very fucking bizarre because going back 20 years ago, 100 grand was like, wow, 100 grand, you could pay off the mortgage for that. You could buy the house for that, right? Like stuff from the 90s, buying a property in Western Sydney in the 90s, you could pick up a house very easily for 100 grand. Now they're just like, everyone gets 100 grand. Everyone have it, right? Free. It's crazy. Anyone accessing the 10 grand from Super John, very important note there. I encourage anyone that's thinking of getting that $10,000 from their super to speak to my office first before you go and take that 10 grand out. I've had about 5 people in the last fortnight have their loans rejected. For those of you that don't know, I run a large scale finance company where I specialise in investor loans and people that are just structuring their finances and whatnot to build those portfolios, but also mums and dads and their sort of purchasing of their principal place of residence or restructuring their debt or consolidating their debt and write loans for thousands of people and got lots of loans under management. Big red flag there. People are pulling their money out of the super fund. They just like, oh wow, I can get another deposit. When it hits your bank account, the bank sees on your statement that you have been paid from your super fund. There's one of two things, right? One, you have gone to access your super due to the fact that you're in a financial difficulty, and the bank will look upon that poorly and be like, well, you didn't declare to us that you are in that you're in financial difficulty, or you have gone to apply for the $10,000 from your super, saying that you're in financial difficulty and you're not in financial difficulty, and you've bullshitted on that front. So very, very important to make sure that if you are going to be accessing that 10 grand from your super, is it going to impact your servicing, your borrowing capacity, and hurting your acquisition of your assets? So if you are thinking of getting that 10 grand out of your super, you want to know if it is a good idea, not a good idea, whatever. If you are thinking of buying any property anytime soon, getting a loan anytime soon, financing anytime soon, make sure you reach out to my office first. Myself, my team, here to help. Make sure that you don't hurt yourself throughout that transaction. Dan, hey Nath, what are your thoughts on how the tariffs imposed by China will affect the economy? Australia stops allowing immigration, will affect housing prices. Good question. I think that there's a lot of pie in the sky stuff. There's going to be threats thrown around. There's going to be some sort of deal that's going to be done. It will cause a bit of volatility out there. What we've got to remember is that communist China, people don't want to be under their regime, right? They're coming to our country, right? And that's cool, right? People go, oh, we don't want Chinese coming to our country and all these sorts of things, right? That's shit. People shouldn't be racist. People should just be happy and go on their life. If people want to pick a fight with other people, they should be picking a fight with the people that are trying to enslave and divide and conquer us all. There's still a massive demand for people to migrate to this country. We are relatively free compared to what other countries have to go through. I think there's still a strong demand for people to come to our country. If our economy gets weak, it's going to make it more attractive. You get more value for coming here. We have nice beaches, we have nice weather. People go without their day without being locked up. I even look at those US videos where the cops and the brutality, it's like they're being fucking destroyed and KO'd and belted just for the fun of it because they didn't drop their cigarette out. They dropped their cigarette out the window, thinking they've got a gun to their head or something. So Australia is an attractive place on that front, and we need to keep our borders open, and we need to bring more tax slaves into our country. When I say tax slaves, I just mean people that are going to be working, paying taxes, and getting themselves into debt to keep our Ponzi scheme alive. And that's one of the biggest benefits here of Australia. We'll talk about Robert Kiyosaki saying that the market is troublesome at the moment, and property prices and all these sorts of things. We need to look at the fact that we have many different methods here to self-heal ourselves as a nation to keep our economy very strong. So on that front, I think that we're going to see a lot of sort of action happening out there, still moving forward. And it's out of all markets. If we look at Bitcoin, let's look at BC, right? Everyone thinks like 1 BC and AD and Jesus came and passed and left and whatnot. I'm not going biblical on people. All right, let's look at BC, before Corona, right? Before Corona, we had Bitcoin, and everyone's like, oh, Bitcoin's going to die. And then once again, it's resurrected. And then we go through Easter, and then it comes back, right? And we've got Bitcoin prices now higher than what they were before Corona, right? We've got gold at a higher price than BC. We've now got silver at a higher price than what it was BC. Not at an all-time high. Gold's at an all-time high. all around there. No one quote me exactly on it, but like we're at an all-time high point. We've got the stock markets that are being filled up. Like markets are still getting jacked back up, and what I'm seeing out there, like property is my game. That's what I spend, my days doing, is locating and negotiating this stuff. I'm still seeing, asset prices rising on that front, and things still occurring. So yeah, I don't see anything happening on that front. I think that we're going to see lots of money being printed and thrown at this beast to avoid the inevitable, which, and ultimately, as we throw all this money to stop, the collapse, the deflationary cycle, we're going to see that cause a massive inflationary cycle. Dylan, you said you get cash flow on physical metals. How do you do that? I've got to explain it. It's complicated. It's more tongue-in-cheek about items that I buy that have physical metal in them, and I use that. So around cryptocurrencies, mining, solar farm, those sorts of things. So I get very good returns. I'm talking about 150% returns per annum in that. So, but we can chat about that offline. Lydia, I hope you're doing well. Just reading here, and I don't like what I'm reading in your first line. So I'm just going to read that. Hi Nathan, I'm not getting paid currently due to lockdown. As a result, can't show pay slips, so it's advised by my lender at ANZ Australia not to apply for finance until fully paid again. As an Aussie expat, I'm only being lend loans as PAYG, would like to purchase again but have to wait. Was wondering if I have any clients in my situation, Aussie expats investing as PAYG. Any other ways to help out Aussie expat currently living and working in PNG? Sorry, I hope that was clear. Happy birthday, very good night. English, big sport from PNG. Thanks, Lydia. With it, maybe my team can help you. If you want to flick me an email, just at nathan@binvested.com.au, just with a bit of background in your situation. Obviously, you have pay slips and been working and stuff like that. But I can put you in contact with my finance specialist, my strategist there, to see what we can do and how we can get you back to reach your goals there. So with it, hopefully you get some support soon from some stimulus packages, and hopefully everything is okay for you over there in PNG. Jay, RBA June, what is predictions? Made my calls in May. First time where my data over the last 12 years did not add up for a rate cut decision. I don't think we're going to see a rate cut in June. Things could change. Things change rapidly at times. The RBA is purchasing the balance sheet at the moment, and I think they're doing a touch and go operation there. And I believe they're going to wait until see around that September period. It looks, all the charts and indications, if they are sort of correct and showing, sort of indicate around the last quarter's late third, early fourth quarter for another rate cut, as it appears to be a lot of volatility from just reading data at that point in the year. So Herkan, for a newbie who is invested in property, single income family, man, mortgages, 2 kids and a dog, would now be a good time to buy or wait towards the end of the year for market crash before purchasing a property? Not asking for financial advice, but just a general overview. Thanks for Birchfeed. Glad to hear that you're liking Birchfeed. Apologies if it's too deep, some of the stuff out there, guys, but always hear great stuff about Birchfeed, so I appreciate the feedback. As for purchasing now, should you buy now? Should you wait till later? Do I think there's going to be a property correction? No, I believe that we had the property correction going back 24 months ago. The property market is not falling due to the fact of all the stimulus measures, and whatnot that's in the market at the moment. Do I think that we're going to see a property market collapse like any of the news articles that I've talked about? I don't believe so. If I did, I would sell some of my assets. I'm still buying properties in the market. I'm seeing very good value out there at the moment. If the numbers stack up, the deals stack up. The thing that you've got to question yourself is that if you wanted to build a portfolio of 10 properties, right, and let's assume that the market was to double tomorrow, in 5 months, 12 months, 24 months, 36, let's assume that it's 3 years before there's a recovery, right? 3 years before the market starts taking off and the market doubles, right? If the market doubled and you bought one property in 2 years' time when you're thinking you're going to hit the bottom of the market, that property, you could take 200 grand property and turn it into 400 grand. Cool, you turn 200 grand into 400 grand, right? Or you could go out there and purchase 10 properties at 200 grand, so it's $2 million worth of property and turning into $4 million, right? If you're going to build a property portfolio, you can't build a property portfolio in 1 month, 6 months, 12 months. Some people do build really nice portfolios, and I've got some really awesome stories about that. But reality of it is that you would need to build an arc of properties. It might take you 3 years to get to 10 properties, right? But this is a changing market cycle, right? If we're going to see the market double in 12 months, 2 years, 24 months, 36 months, we would want to see, you need to accumulate those assets. So, buying at the bottom of the market, I believe we were at the bottom of the market in March to May 2019. The market has been taking off since then. Some markets are more rapid than others. But yeah, if you ask me for my opinion, you can wait and see what's going to happen at the end of the year. Will the market fall and collapse? I doubt it. I don't see that at all in my data. I'm probably the most active buyer out there in the marketplace, doing 80, 100 properties per month that I purchase and secure myself and negotiate myself on behalf of my investors. So yeah, on that note, if you need further help on that, I can help you with that. But that's my view on it on that front. So Steve Keen. Everyone's asking me Steve Keen. I was talking about an article beforehand. Watch the whole video and you'll see what I was referring to. Hello, mate. When the new gold and silver monetary system is born post-September, as many have forecasted the values to rise significantly, is now a good time to invest, considering silver is 35 an ounce and could get to 3 digits value. Want to make sure that this is not fiat reliant and can provide for our families and friends. Thank you for non-financial advice. Time to be very, very careful. As I was saying beforehand, tell me who's made money out of precious metals. I've heard these stories, right? I've been in the scene watching this stuff for 15 years now, right? I can show videos. I've shared videos from 2007, 2008. It's like 13 years ago. People predicting the same things that's out there. The precious metals are manipulated on a paper traded platform. We're not going to see these things blow off through the top, right? I think it's important to have it as a bit of a hedge and a bit of a ballast, as I was explaining beforehand. However, don't think that you're going to buy, an ounce of silver and it's going to go from $35 to $500 in the next 12 months, even 5 years. In the 1980s, silver was still $50, right? Just think about that. All right, silver was $50 in the 80s. I think it was the 80s. It was much higher. So precious metals have been high before. Are they going to go to triple digits? There's been people talking about this stuff for a very long time. They're tinfoil hatters, doomsayers. I think it's important to have a position in there, but not expecting it. It's like saying Bitcoin's going to go to $1 million by Christmas. It's like, based on what? Based on what fundamentals? And not by saying that, I do see a lot of potential there for Bitcoin. I'm not saying it won't go there, but it's like they're very sort of speculative for that to occur. Matthew, Nathan, some crazy property correction forecasts are sprayed in the media, massive price reductions, interest rate loans maturing, many reasons we won't see any growth. Your thoughts, is the old property markets and pockets will perform differently, or is this something substantial to support a positive narrative? Matt, I talked about the media earlier on. I spent a long time on here. I can see that there's a lot of people that have been watching throughout the course of the evening, and I wouldn't like to bore them with repeating myself on that because it was very in depth. So I did cover that earlier on in this live stream. So thanks for the question, though. I think just watch the earlier part of the video as I covered it on there. James, hey Nathan, not sure if my question got lost or missed. What happens when the currency resets? Does it just keep going? How do they stop hyperinflation? How do you stop the reset? And what happens to the currency as we know it? The currency has died multiple times, James, over the course of the last 100 years, notably in the 1993 Gold Confiscation Act. even in like the 1913 when they just, created the Fed in the US, 1971 when they removed the currency. The currency was default at that period of time, so they used to issue silver certificates, like US dollars were silver certificates, where you could redeem your note for physical metal. Then they couldn't pay out on that because they were bankrupt, so they made it non-redeemable. And it's when they backed to they took away the Bretton Woods system, and they made the US dollar the currency of the world, the base currency, back in 1971 when Henry Kissinger did the Saudi deal and made the petrodollar. And basically, they went from one system to another. No one realised that they were still using the same currency. We saw some currency changes. We go in Australia, and they went from an imperial system to a metric system, the pound and the pence to the dollars and the cents, which we use now. People don't notice, just like a little glitch. However, the back end of the currency. So I feel that in this cycle, we could see the central banks needing to be bailed out, the central banks printing a lot of money, then needing to be bailed out by something like the IMF. The IMF, International Monetary Fund, may be drawing something called a special drawing rights, an SDR. So when you start seeing IMF, SDR articles about this sort of stuff, that's when you know that there's a bit of change happening in the back end. I think that people are going to have like an e-dollar or something like that. It's never going to go to Bitcoin. It's never going to go back to a gold standard. It's never going to be backed by silver. Never going to be backed by Ethereum or Ripple. None of these things, right? They might use a hybrid and say, oh, it's like a digital currency. It's great. It's like Bitcoin. Bitcoin's gone up so high. Let's use this. It's working really well. We're going to use this one. It's a government, not a non-dodgy one, right? And they'll have some sort of rhetoric that they'll program people to believe and use and accept. Which will be no different than the mark of the beast. However, I haven't seen a hyperinflation. Generally, the currency dies and they have to go to a new sort of currency, and it's going to be exciting because, I'm excited, but it will come with a lot of pain to a lot of people, a lot of loved ones in trouble and stuff like that. But interesting times out there. Camilla, do you think large property portfolios of 15 plus properties are a thing of the past now? No, good question, Camilla. I have made some sort of dozen plus property portfolios so far in 2020, right? So the question being is, do you think that that we can't build a property portfolio of 15 plus in today's market? Definitely can. I've got someone that is settling on 3 properties on Friday. I've had someone that bought their first property and settled it. I think it was like the start of this month. So in May, they settled their first property, settled their second property, and has now bought 2 more properties. So I've got 4 properties in 1 month. I have seen a number of my investors that I've been working with over the years enter into double-digit property territory this year. I've seen one of my investors who had 6 properties for quite a while, hop back on the bandwagon and is up to, I think, number 14 as of this month. And was at 6 in around September, October last year, and is at 14 now. So with it, you can still get large double-digit property portfolios in this market. It is much harder and needs a lot more strategy behind it in order to make it happen, but it is definitely very, very possible. James, can you help me build an awesome property portfolio in 12 months? I would like to be another awesome story for you. James, I'm going to hold you to that. You've written it here. I read it, you comment. Let's look back in 12 months' time and see what damage we can do with building your portfolio, mate. So I'm looking forward to helping you on that front. James also asked, you say people don't make lots of money from precious metals. What should they do with their cash? No financial advice. I like using it to leverage into different assets. It's different times, as I said beforehand. Times where I wear a jumper, sometimes I don't wear a jumper, sometimes I wear shorts, sometimes I wear long pants, sometimes I wear pajamas. Different times we need different vehicles. Doesn't mean that I only have shorts in my wardrobe. Doesn't mean I only have jeans in my wardrobe. Doesn't mean I only have jumpers in my wardrobe. Different times, different vehicles. And that's why I help guide you through that period. So always feel free to flick me a text. You've got my number. If you get stuck on something, flick me a text. I'll try my best to be in contact with you and answer that for you. So with it, seeing a lot of people go out there and just buy big chunks of metal, and it's like, fuck, you're going to regret this in the future. It's like having a house full of toilet paper at the moment. Owning all your money into silver or gold ain't going to stave you, right? Like there's bigger out there. Just go throughout life and make sure you're taking the right steps to reach your goals from an investing standpoint. So Michael, I expect a dip, but if a good opportunity comes at under market value, go for it. Exactly. You expect a dip. I believe we've seen the dip a while back ago in 2017, 2018, 2019. James, what is your position on the fact of an aging baby boomer population and the fact that they are in the downsizing and property oversupply? Mike Maloney talks about this in Hidden Secrets of Money. Good question. Every nation is different. I don't think we're going to see a baby boomer issue. There's different times where we're trying to improve our economy by bringing in more tax slaves. In the early 2000s, Howard gave the baby bonus for everyone to go and spur them to have more children to boost the population. So now we've got an aging, downsizing population, but we've still got people that are like 20, 25, 30, which are going out there, living the Australian dream, and purchasing the principal places of residence. I guess here in Australia, we're more blessed by the fact that we're a young nation, and we don't have a massive oversupply of property like they do in other parts of the world. So I don't think we're going to be really affected on that front. Cameron, what do you do if the banks say you have no further lending and you still believe you can fund another mortgage to purchase another property? The banks still use stringent serviceability criteria. Cameron, if you get stuck on financing, I run a business. I founded it about 10 years ago. It's called Zinger Finance. Flick my team an email, message over to me. I'll have a look at your position. I'll get my team to have a look at your position. If you want to flick us an email, admin@binvested.com.au. Just put in their finance. My team will put you in contact with, just mention about this conversation we've had on the video. My team will have a look over your position and see what we can do. There's a big difference between a normal mortgage broker or a normal bank, or someone that really understands finance strategy. It's very detailed. I look at it as an artwork, and for me to be able to build a 200 plus property portfolio, I've had to have the right strategy behind that, because the financing strategy is just as important as the purchasing strategy for yourself. So feel free to reach out, hit up myself and my team, have a look at your position personally, and get my team to give you a finance strategy on that front. Tommy, Nath, make message is going on the screen. Make James Turner and I your new apprentices and turn us into mini Nathans. Tommy, I will do that. Obviously I can't cure the sick, I can't walk on water, but I can make a good solid property portfolio. So we're on the right track, Tommy, and we'll chat shortly about next steps. We know there's one part of the jigsaw puzzle that's holding us back a little bit on the next one, to go to the next one, but I look forward to us doing a video in sometime in the next 6 to 12 months over a beer or whatever, even though I don't drink, and talking about what we started off at a few months ago, and where we're at the end of the year, and reflecting on sort of some of the hurdles, some of the trials, some of the victories, and building out that portfolio. So I'm looking forward to that, Tommy, and also with James as well. Luke, hi Nathan, what are you buying for customers at the moment? What value are the properties, and what are the general initial cash outlay to expect? Luke, I'm picking up properties at all different price points. The highest price one was about $6 million this year. The cheapest one has been $14,000 for the cheapest property this year. On average in capital cities, picking up from about 100 to about 350 on average in capital cities. So Sydney, Brisbane, all different capital cities. Anywhere from 100 to 350 is a sort of average price, and good yields, sort of 7 to 10% return. People for needing capital to start purchasing a property, I'd say somewhere around a 25 grand. I'm a big fan of using 20% deposit, 5% closing costs. So 25% of the purchase price. You want to buy a 200 grand property, you probably need 50 grand. Some people do use 10% deposits, but 98% of the time, 20% deposit. So hit me up, Luke. Happy to help out with building the portfolio and purchasing those properties for you. James, thanks, Nathan. Appreciate all your information, especially the non-financial advice and learning and investigating for ourselves to make an informed position. Pleasure, mate. And to Tommy as well. Thanks, mate. Cameron, thanks for the information. There's a lot of conflicting information about property prices going up or down in the next 1 to 2 years. What do you think? Cameron, I've got to leave that one for you to go back to the early part of the video, because I've been on here for about 2 hours now, and I covered that extensively in the earlier part of this video. So I actually pulled all the articles and gave my feedback and thoughts on that. There is a lot of negative media out there. A lot of people trying to like spruik their wares and promote their story and you know what their agenda. Personally, I'm still purchasing at this point in the market. I'm excited. You know, if I put money where my mouth is, unlike a lot of these professors, which you know, don't have anything and you know, always complain. I'm out there purchasing and making moves. I've been very clear when I thought we were going to see a market retraction in 2016. I even did a news.com article. I spoke to them as they saw a post from me, and I was very clear that I was selling some properties at the time because I needed to, and I'm very open from when I'm buying, from when I'm selling, and it's all documented out there, and I'm very big in the market of purchasing at the moment. So yeah. Cameron, also I was thinking about purchasing commercial property in my self-managed super fund. Can you help with this too? Yes, I can. When you send the email to my team, just put in there what you're trying to do, and my team will make sure that we get you there. So I help a lot of people with building property portfolios within their super fund. So yeah, happy to help out where I can. Thanks for another good session. Mentioned last week about crypto video soon. Can tune in. Nathan, thanks for content. Birch feed, appreciate that. Appreciate, guys. On that note, I'm going to sign out. Gonna once again thank you for tuning in, watching me, having this part of your family, and having me in your home on a Tuesday evening. If you have any questions, feel free to hit up my team. Send us an email, admin@binvested.com.au. If you're not in Birch feed, make sure you join Birch feed. It is free. You don't even have to be a tight ass. Just send an email to my office with your phone number. They will add you in there. If you want to call my office, 1300 367 925. Got any questions, hit us up. And on that note, I will see you next Tuesday, guys. Bye for now.